Hello.
Test.
Welcome to our podcast. Myself, James, and my co-host and brother Joshua.
Hello.
We were going to call the podcast Misticos. We probably won't now, but Josh will explain why.
That just comes from the Portuguese colonial era. It's just a Portuguese word that just means something along the lines of mixed.
Yeah.
So it's what they would use. It was a classification of the ethnic groups in the countries that they colonized for when natives had children with the soldiers that came over, or the people that came over, the East India companies, for example.
And that's the first name that they had for mixed race people.
Yeah, that's the first name.
Perfect.
Before anything else.
And that is specific to... is that specific to the Sri Lankan region, or is
It's not specific to just Sri Lanka. They used it in different places that they colonized as well. I'm assuming that people from like what's the port city in China? Macau. I'm assuming they called those Mesticos as well when they first got there.
It's so funny because it's so close to it's Mestico? Mesticos. And there's mosquito, MES, something in South America, where it is specific to mixed race people. But
Mosquito.
It's a slightly different name.
Well, is that a Spanish root word?
I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of Portuguese.
It's going to be Iberian. It's something along those lines. Obviously, Latin languages, but it will derive from the same thing, I'm assuming.
It's funny. They've literally just brought out a some sort of television program where it is about that region, and it's about, I'm assuming, the native people there that are of mixed race descent from colonialism at that time, where they've just been left. It was like a town for mixed race people, and then people just up and left. And this obviously goes back to what me and you were talking about previously, where at some point during colonialism, I think, especially in Asia, from what we've read anyway.
It's what we know more about anyway.
And we're going to know more about that. We are obviously half Asian, half white ourselves.
And within that, for people that don't know, our Asian side is in of itself, essentially, it comes from an ethnic group of mixed people.
Correct, yeah.
So we're mixed within our mix.
Yeah.
Which complicates things.
That makes it a little
and
bit
muddies
more.
up the water a little bit more when it comes to us. Talking about the Burgher people of Sri Lanka is the same as the Anglo-Indians in India. One and the same in the sense that essentially they're ethnic groups that originated from colonial powers going over in there and taking wives, as we read before. That's the actual terminology, taking wives from the native lands and having kids with them, and then that's where it comes from. But it's European powers. If you think about Dutch East India Company, that around that time. So we're going back 400, 500 years.
Yeah, and we've traced our family now back. What's this like? 200.
200, 250. Yeah,
200-300 years. And in that family history, we find a whole plethora of different names in there. I mean, there was like Austrian names, Dutch names, German names, Portuguese names. And this is all just from literally people coming over to Sri Lanka, the island, taking some sort of wife,
taking a Sinhalese woman or a Tamil woman,
and then having these what would be called burgher children or Mesticos. Well, those were the originals anyway.
Those were the Portuguese.
When the Dutch came, it became burger. Dutch is a burger is a Dutch word for like towns.
It's their equivalent of bourgeois. it comes from the same root word as bourgeois. So it just essentially means someone from the town.
From the town.
Yeah, of the town.
Which is, it's strange that they would...
It's interesting because there's an implication of like...
If that's the etymology, what is the implication?
The implication of the town, I think, is meant to be like an upper class thing. And you look at the etymology of bourgeois and what that means now, specifically, that links to more upper class.
So that's weird that it would be called that. I mean, these people were at that point segregated away from the rest of the population. If you were half Asian, half white, at that point, you were separated away from the population. And what we were obviously reading earlier, we were talking about, was the fact that at some point, and during obviously revolutions and during obviously countries seeking their own independence, they were, or if you were mixed race, you were shunned by the Asian, and you were shunned by the European.
And it's interesting as well because if you're directly mixed raced in the sense that your two parents, one's European, one's Asian, or if you came from a Eurasian ethnic group, similar treatment regardless. So if you were looking at mixed race people that were mixed race in the way that we are, or if you're looking at mixed people in the sense that, for example, going back to burgers, even if you ask some Sri Lankans now, what's a burger? They say, oh, that's a mixed person.
Yeah, I mean,
I've had someone say that to me before.
That's if they even know.
A Sri Lankan woman who I was like, oh yeah, like I'm half Sri Lankan, and she was like, oh, what are you? And I said, oh, my mum's a burger, and she said, oh, you're mixed. That was her straight away. Oh, you're mixed. And I was like, yeah, kind of, but that's not really how I see it. But sure, but the perceptions of you change, you know.
It is interesting, yeah, because none of our family. I think as you come further down the line, that European mix is going to dissipate.
Well, and this is
somewhat, and you're gonna. I mean, we have the names of family. We don't have pictures of these people. This was your point because we were trying to find out, we were trying to establish when was the last sort of European person in that family tree.
An actual European,
as opposed to just lines carrying.
That just has a European name because they all do and all did at least. Yeah,
I mean it was incredible. There was like swine.
A lot of shrines and that. Yeah, German names, Austrian names for sure, which surprised me. But the more you learn about what the Dutch East India Company were like, and
all around, it's not.
They
just
took
Dutch
from they took from all of Europe. It was essentially any young man that was within the continent. It was in continental Europe that wanted to try his luck in Asia.
Yeah.
Come join the
You want to try your luck?
Are things not going?
Listen, people are taking wives.
Are the winters too cold in Austria?
Do you want to try?
Because we found an island for you guys. I think you'll like the weather better there.
Do you like boating? Do you like wives? I've got a job for you.
You want to see what an elephant looks like?
But it's hard to establish that. It's hard to find out when.
Well, from name basis alone, it's impossible. Because, like we said, you can have a totally European name, but you're brown, man. and both your parents were brown,
100%.
But your name is European.
Yeah.
If I saw you on a piece of paper, I'd think, oh, you're probably an English person that moved to that country.
1,000%.
No, you're not. You're not, and your ancestors have been there for hundreds of years now, but you're still being called, a European name.
Yeah, and I don't know if we personally established whether it would be like a guy that's carrying the name, but he's marrying a Sinhalese woman. Do you know what I mean? And she's gonna then take the Burger name.
Yeah.
But she is Sinhalese. She's fully Sinhalese.
Yeah. That would have been that as well. 100.
So it is difficult to establish.
It's really difficult. Yeah.
Which is why when the perception is immediately, if you're a burger or that burger side, you're just straight up mixed.
I am mixed.
I wouldn't consider them. I wouldn't consider them completely mixed. I would consider them more Asian with some sort of lineage that is European at some point. Do you know what I mean? And that's affected the culture.
That affected the culture and also affected stuff like phenotype as well, which goes into,
Well, then I think when I look at 100%, it's going to affect them.
You can have very, very fair-skinned Eurasian people and very dark-skinned Eurasian people. We see this in our own family photos.
Yeah, I mean, our nan is ridiculously light-skinned.
Very fair-skinned, but then
she's light-skinned than me.
She was fair skinned than you. Yeah. But then the man she was married to
was very
not
dark.
so much.
Was very dark
Not
skin.
so much.
And then
Both equally burger.
both equally burger, but from
Slightly different lineages. Slightly different.
You know, our nan always maintained that it was a Dutch burger.
A Dutch lineage, yeah.
Which we then kind of established that that's not true.
It's bullshit. It's not. We've realized now that the lie that has been passed down for potentially hundreds of years, through people that essentially don't know any better, is that you are either of Portuguese lineage if you're a burger, or you're of Dutch lineage if you're a burger.
Correct.
We know now that this isn't true because your lineage will come from Britain, it will come from the Netherlands, it will come from Portugal, it will come from Germany, Austria, Italy, France. It will come from essentially all of continental Europe and Britain through the last stage of colonial presence in the country.
Correct.
So this Dutch burger thing and this Portuguese burger thing, which was repeated to us so often when we grew up. This is something that's all we knew was, we're mainly Dutch burger, but we have some Portuguese burger in us from Papa.
Yeah.
What we now know is that they were all a mixture of a whole bunch of things, and none of this lineage thing even it's not relevant because it's not the truth.
No.
It's just
Dutch burger. Way to pigeonhole people.
Right. So Dutch burger and Portuguese burger were literally just two ways to categorize this ethnic group.
Are you a little bit darker in a burger? You're probably Portuguese.
You're probably Portuguese then, right?
Are you light skin?
You more fair skin? You're Dutch.
You're Dutch burger. Yeah. It's rubbish. It's all rubbish. But it is something that they're taught, and it is something that just seems to be embedded within the culture.
And has been perpetuated until now.
And perpetuated and projected onto every single other person that might be a burger that doesn't come from Sri Lanka, much like ourselves. Yeah. We're not going to know, and we're not going to be there to ask questions and find this stuff out. We had to actively go and find out.
We had to find it ourselves.
We're like, well, I'm sorry, Schwein, whatever. I can't remember I can't remember it.
It would be
something
deep in the archives, right? On one
some
of our phones,
Schweinsteiger name.
Some Schweinsteiger, some Bastian.
Not Bastian. Like, that's not Dutch. We know that's not Dutch, and we had there was other names there that we knew. We were like, that's not Dutch as well, and you had to inform our family over there that you guys realised you're not all Dutch burgers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
On the phone to people in Sri Lanka, telling them, like I found like a German lineage. What? Really?
And they don't know this. They don't know this because they're just taught something, and they'll just go along with that. I don't know. It's like almost like a survival. It's a survival thing, but it's a pigeonhole thing.
Well, there's a case to be made in the sense that identity. We know this. It's a nice segue into identity and how one identifies themselves. But identity is so important for people, and especially if you're a minority, being able to really identify yourself as this and you're proud of it is important. It becomes understandable when you think about it that way, why burgers were so proud to be Dutch burgers or so proud to be Portuguese burgers, and they maintained in their communities that where at some point they had been ostracized from the rest of the ethnic groups in some way, shape or form, and they've maintained those communities. They 100%. Continue. Look on the east coast of Sri Lanka, there's still, in Bataclan, on the east coast, there's still like not closed off, but it's still strong.
Sri Lanka's going to hear that and be like, he didn't say that correctly or something, something like that.
I bet I did.
We were born and raised in London. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, trust me. It's a strong Portuguese burger community, and they still speak Portuguese Creole over there, and they're the only ones that speak that anymore. No one else does.
And that's something that people wouldn't know around the world. They wouldn't know where we're from. You do have things like that in Sri Lanka. You do have an entire people that will speak Portuguese Creole in Sri Lanka, in an island in the Indian Ocean.
A strange language in of itself because it mixes old, like 17th century Portuguese Portuguese vocab, but it uses Tamil and Sinhala grammar structures.
So now I would assume that they have some variation in this in Goa and different parts of India as well. Just because they it's the same kind of
influence.
Background. It's the same
Portuguese influence for sure.
Where and this is for people, you would have heard Anglo-Indian, but you wouldn't have heard burger. Growing up, burger is something you eat. It's not something that people know anything about. It's the same basic joke that you get if you say, "Oh, I'm a burger."
You want fries with that?
What the fuck is a burger? But yeah, exactly. And But it's Anglo-Indian it's in the same sense. It's just from Sri Lanka.
They're just it's the equivalent version.
And I'm sure they've got some sort of Portuguese Creole in.
You'd think so.
In Goa.
Or sort of maybe something, I don't know. India is a different country in the sense that, you know, language over there's so many languages. You'd think that there would be something, some remnants or something.
I don't know if they've got a Dutch influence, but definitely they had a Portuguese influence. Now, on our side, the Dutch and British influence, obviously them having come after Portugal came to the island. That is a lot heavier on our side. We don't have like a huge Portuguese kind of influence. I don't really think that there's a lot of, mainly because we were just told we were Dutch burgers growing up.
Well, and we weren't, and even like things where like the few things that are Dutch burgery about the stuff that we would have experienced were burgery rather were Dutch burgery. They weren't Portuguese traditions.
No.
If you think at Christmas we would eat bruda. Bruda is something that you make at Christmas or you buy at Christmas, and it is a Dutch burger tradition. Lampreis is delicious, but it comes from Old Dutch for packaged food.
Yeah, that's
packaged food or packaged meat or something.
This is something from them bringing it on ships or something, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, and they learned to use banana leaves to package stuff up.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was hard. It was much more influenced by the Dutch side. Because of that, because of the perception, because of it being pigeonholed that that's exactly where you are. Everything is Dutch. That's 100%. The pigeonhole thing is something we talk about a lot. It's something that we go into a lot because it helps people just seem to identify mixed race people in a way that is appeases their own perceptions. You know?
Yeah.
People don't want to change their perceptions, or it's like a safety mechanism to you know. A mixed race person is weird to people because a mix of things is just like hard to understand. How can he be like this?
How can you mix a human? Almost, yeah.
Me and Josh, perfect examples.
Yeah,
you got two people, full brothers. You know, I look a lot more Asian. He looks a lot more European. He's taken after our dad. I've taken after our mum.
Yeah.
They would pigeonhole him, not as a Dutch burger, obviously, but they would pigeonhole him as just a European. It would be too difficult for them to understand that this kid is half Asian as well as European. And it's the same for me. They would pigeonhole me as you have to be Asian.
You must be Asian.
There's no way you're half.
It's unlikely that
European.
you're. Yeah, it's not really believable.
It's a pigeonhole thing.
Well, it's because it's what works in people's minds. Most people in the world, identity-wise, in terms of their ethnic identity or their national identity, are of one thing. Obviously, most people in their identity, whether that's factual to the basis of their genetics,
I was gonna say
it isn't, but how they identify themselves is not in the way that we identify ourselves.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Because how they identify themselves is of one thing. That's what you're used to. You're from this one place. That's just normal. So when someone like you or I comes along and we say that we're not just from one place, we're from two places, and then when we say what those two places are, it adds, there's layers of confusion for someone that's not willing to take in that information because it doesn't agree with what they originally thought when they first saw you.
Absolutely.
Your brain unconsciously makes decisions about what you think about someone before you even realize it. So, you know, you have something to go off. It gives you a basis, a foundation to go off this interaction with this person.
Correct.
And then when something goes against it, and it's something that has to do with their appearance, has to do with how you would view them because it's their ethnic background, if it doesn't agree with what you originally thought, you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna believe it. I don't want this to get too anecdotal, but between the two of us, we probably have about 6 hours of anecdotes.
I mean,
regarding
easily
experiences that we've had in relation to our ethnic background, in relation to our family, comments that I made, arguments that I had. I was talking to you earlier. I get into full blown arguments with teachers about who my cousins are.
Which is incredible.
Full blown arguments with adults when I was a kid.
Teachers,
because they couldn't wrap them. And this is a thing. We grew up in London. This is not we didn't grow up in the countryside.
And
from
yet,
London.
still
And they
hard to
still
believe.
can't understand it. They still can't wrap their head around the fact that, oh, I have cousins that are darker skinned than me. Like, how's that work?
It's incredible.
Because they look at me and they go, well, he's white, so he must be English. He's an English boy. So how can he have darker skinned cousins? It doesn't make any sense. Well, because I'm not an English boy in the sense that you think I am, and they're not what you think they are either.
Effectively, where people have decided at some point that your race is decided by your skin color. That's what it is.
Or certainly your ethnic background.
It's that basis. Like, oh, he's white, he's European. Oh,
Western European. He's in England.
So for me personally, I have never no one has ever turned around and been like, "Are you Sri Lankan?" In my entire life. However, I have 80% of the time, I'm from the Middle East.
Yeah, like somewhere.
I must be from the Middle East, especially now, 'cause my hair. But this video ain't even going out.
Yeah,
this is just audio only. But no, yeah. Most of the time, people will ask if I'm from the Middle East. They think I'm from the Middle East.
Yeah,
and this is
and
just
all of the countries.
No, my friend.
No,
you're not even close. But I mean, you're not even close.
You're as close as you're probably gonna get. That's why I like the credit. This is the credit I give people.
You're Asian, I guess.
This is the credit I give people.
You're a little bit, yeah.
When people, as they do, ask me where I'm from,
right?
And I always tell them, tell me where you think I'm from, because it's always interesting. I like to add countries to my list of countries that people have guessed. Of course. I must have 25 or so by now. Easily 25. And I give people the most credit if they say that I'm Arabic. If they say, oh, were you Arabic or like Middle Eastern or something like that, or North African, something like that. Because obviously I'm fair skinned, but my features are that there's clearly something else there, or at least to me there. Do you know what I mean?
1,000%.
So I give them credit because I'm like, well, you're going east, and so you're in the right direction, but you're not quite there yet. Do you know what I mean? There's a mixture there, but you're right in the middle of the two places. So I'll give you that.
1,000%.
That's cool.
And that's as close as they are really going to get.
It's never going to get any closer.
Going to get it.
Then no one's ever going to go, what, you mixed race European South Asian to me. There's never going to happen.
No.
Because in their head, South Asians look like one thing.
Correct.
Black hair, dark skin, probably not that tall. Quite lean. This is what like a South Asian man is like to most people in their heads without even thinking. And then European, you look more like me.
Right.
So there's no well, you mix South Asian European. No, it's you're European. Or if they think there's something there, they go. That's why they go in between, and that's why you have to be creative.
And then somehow I would assume. I mean, yeah, just like you are. I could fill a book with the countries that people think are from every single continent at this point. Bar Southeast Asian regions.
Which, because you hold none of those features.
Like West African regions.
Yeah, and you hold none of those features.
You're not going to get that. But everything else and everything in between. Easily. But it doesn't make any sense. And unless it is off that perception of that phenotype where you're like, I'm the colour that I'm supposed to be of a South Asian, but I'm a little bit taller, so I'm probably not, or something like that. There's something will say to someone that no, this dude is going to be like Middle Eastern.
There's something there.
What are you talking about?
There's something there. Like their brain picks up. We all do it, but it's just with us, it's a little bit different because I guess we just talked about this as well. I think part of the privilege of being mixed race is that you learn a lot of lessons to do with race and to do with how people look and how people, how different races mix together.
Mixed race people know mixed race people.
We know that I can pick out a mixed race person in a room because
give me a whole lineup of people and I will tell you which one is the mixed race person. Like 1,000%. And I don't know why that is.
Like just spot it. Most of the time, you can just spot it.
But when you come from you come from a multicultural background. When you come from a multicultural area, you'd think that your perceptions would be better. Your education is better. That ignorance isn't there, but yet it remains as a defense mechanism.
Where we learn it is in our home life, and that's the difference.
Or it's our upbringing in parties.
Because your home life is what really molds those things when you're growing up. It's your perception of race and your perception of what people look like when they're from different areas. It's what you do at home, not what you do anywhere else. So, for us, You look at, Christmases and birthdays and everything else. You have every color under the rainbow represented in skin color.
Which did
you
that?
have
Yeah.
all different hair types represented in our family.
Yeah.
You have people of different mixes, and because of that, you pick up what features can develop in people because of different mixes, or this is because of this, or this because of that. And because of that, that was home for us all the time.
Right.
That's home for us all the time, bro. That's all we knew forever growing up. Whereas these other people, even if you grow up in, let's say, London,
but you grow up in a
one race household, not even a one race household, but a one race family. Everyone's from one country. Every time you go to your cousin's birthday, everyone's the same color, same skin, same hair type, same.
You don't get them. Yeah, you won't.
You don't have that variation in what you're looking at.
1,000%.
Which is not their fault. It's just a matter of fact of at some point you must learn it, but we learn it faster. That's what it is.
1,000. Everyone is the same immediately because every type of person is in your family.
Is the same.
Yeah, everyone is the same.
And that's how the world works.
And that is literally how we grew up. I mean, we come from a family where everyone in the new generation are mixed race.
Mm-hmm.
And by new generation, I mean sort of
our generation.
Every single person is a mixed race. Whether it's like Welsh and Sri Lankan. We're English.
And we're English Irish, Sri Lankan, technically.
Jamaican, Sri Lankan. Yeah. We had every type of person at a family gathering. It was impossible for us to not gain that sort of knowledge. So yeah, absolutely right. That's effectively where it comes from. A lot of people come from. It's almost like it's not. Yeah, other people come from these one race families.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't allow them to have that perception. Even in school, you would think that they would go to school, but then your knowledge also comes from your parents.
Yeah.
And if your parents also, both of them came from one race household, they are not giving you that knowledge, and that is technically where racism and stuff comes from. It's going to come from people's parents. No kids are born racist. It's continuously
taught from generation to generation to generation. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But this whole thing is a pigeonhole defense mechanism. I'm 100% sure of it as well.
It's a way to throw you into a box, whether you fit there or not.
Yeah, fit in the box because it's just gonna make it easier for me to understand you or accept you. Or it's weird. And that's the thing. You're not looking for that acceptance or approval. Or you're trying to impose that on people when you come from the type of household we come from. You're just kind of accepting of everyone.
This is the thing now.
It's just like you're just another person, mate. You kind of look like my cousin.
You're another.
You kind of look like my brother.
You look
kind of look like my uncle.
Yeah,
kind of look like my nan. It's you know what I mean? We have them all.
You look like someone I'm related to.
Yeah, someone that I have love for.
Yeah.
And when you don't grow up with that, when you don't have that, and obviously I feel like we're repeating the point, but yeah, you will grow up with that ignorance.
But yeah,
and this is all around. This is not one type of person, not one type of race
at all.
Do you know what I mean? Like African families to English families to fucking Chinese families.
Yeah,
or something like this.
You're
gonna
Asian
get
family.
It's the same
thing. It's the same thing. It seems to be something that's deeply rooted in how we protect ourselves and protect our own, is by being able to put other people in boxes.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're protecting yourself, but it's not really something that you're thinking about doing. It's just how you're geared to think. But what breaks that pattern is being mixed race. What breaks that is being, and not only being mixed race, of course, but being mixed race and being around a mixed race family. Correct. We were around such a varied family, a culturally varied family that it was,
And that doesn't mean that you have to be mixed race to have a greater understanding. Because you got to think, our dad wasn't racist, quite clearly. Mm-hmm. Our mum wasn't racist, quite clearly. But that is just something that removes it entirely.
Yeah,
I do feel,
because you can't survive growing up if you think this way that you're geared to think. You can't survive that way. So it's not something that is beneficial to anyone around you, including yourself. So you don't think that way. Whereas,
And it allows other things to creep in, like air of superiority over people, because you can pigeonhole them in things. If you think that your race is better than it, this is why we're like a nightmare. to like a racist person. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Someone can try to be racist to me or to you. It's difficult for them to attack me.
What angle are you going to come at?
Where are you coming from, fam? Because number one, you don't know where I come from.
Are you going to hit the mark? Because I don't think you're going to hit the mark.
Number two, I'm sorry, but my dad probably looks like your dad. Or some stupidness like that.
Definitely looks like
my dad looks like the leader of the BNP.
Yeah, trust me.
My friend, you cannot
bald white
me
man.
here.
Big bald white man.
But yeah, but we also think that, and you can tell this statistically, that mixed race people are increasing at a higher rate than any other. We're coming.
We're coming.
We're coming.
Be scared, because we're coming.
It's coming, right? The revolution. Okay, it's coming, right? And it's going to be led by mixed race people.
Just give us 15 years.
But you actually have to call them mixed race people. You understand? Yeah. It defeats the point when you take a mixed race person. There's no revolution if you take a mixed race person and you call them by the one race because it makes you feel better. Okay? It's not going to happen. It doesn't help. It doesn't help the situation. You actually have to acknowledge and recognize that, oh, that person is a mix of two races. Oh, that person is in a position now of whatever, some admirable position, for example. That is how you destroy racism from that angle, from that aspect. It's just another tool to do it. There is no point in you disregarding half of the person to appease yourself. It doesn't work. It's funny because obviously the slur is half caste.
Yeah.
You know, I've been called half caste by random dudes. Yeah. And I've been called half caste maliciously, and I've also been called half caste just like it's not something they grew up using the word.
That's the word that was used.
There's no malicious intent.
Yeah, it's just part of their vocal.
I've had conversations with old people, and they'll be like, "Oh, are you half caste?" like, and it is. You know, I'm just like, yeah. I don't even try and correct them. What am I gonna do? Take a 75-year-old person and say, "Oh, let me sit you down and talk to you about race." They haven't got much time left. There's no point. Okay,
and they meant no harm.
Yeah, and they meant no harm, and they're not racist. They're actually being nice to everyone, and the mere fact that they're trying to recognize that you are a mix is in fact a good thing.
Because they want to know about where
you're
from.
They want to know. They're like, yeah, you're a mix, isn't it? That's cool. Well, it's not cool in their eyes, but it's something to recognize.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but obviously then the other side of the thing is you get called half caste and maliciously, which I also have, and that's a different thing. That comes down to the ignorance of the person. But you have to recognize them as a full person, but you have to recognize that there are two mix of people.
And this, I mean that's that perspective of
they're a mix of two people.
You want to recognize people as a full person, so that. The very idea of a mixed person is it's oxymoronic.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And it's a hard concept for some people in the sense that they look at you and they go, well, you're this one thing because you're a whole person. And then when you go, no, I'm mixed, I might not look what you think I am, but I'm mixed. It doesn't compute in their brain. They don't understand.
I mean, our dad, I think it's only once he asked me. He never asked me before. He never thought that it was going to be like... it was so nothing to him. He didn't even think that someone would even question me or be racist towards me or anything. But he literally said to me, has anyone ever actually been racist to you? Like, has anyone said anything about you being mixed race? One time he did it and I'm like... How old are you? 24, 23?
23, 24.
You know, that's a long time.
Yeah, to wait.
And I said to him, I'm like,
yeah.
I'll be real with you, mate. Like, yeah.
Thanks for asking. I've got a few stories. If you've got some time.
That I've had to reference you as the leader of the BNP. Which he's not, obviously. He's just a
disclaimer.
He's just a bald white dude.
He's a normal Englishman.
You know, he just looks like
He literally looks like any Englishman.
English dude, just like an English guy. But again, people look at me, they wouldn't think that my dad is my dad.
Of course not. They wouldn't pair you together.
No, they wouldn't.
But nor would they pair me and Mum together.
Exactly.
And that's the other side of it.
And this is what, me and you read the article.
There was an article, for reference, there was an article in the BBC that came out with a story. There was a story that dropped on the BBC, and it essentially related to...
It pushed us to do this even further.
This has been in the pipeline for a minute.
But this is the reason.
We've been planning to do this for a minute, but this couple, it was a black woman and a white man.
Correct.
Who had a child. The child happened to be fair-skinned, something I know about. And the article was about how no one would believe this woman, that this child was this woman's child because of how fair-skinned the child.
In the hospital.
In the hospital, they're asking
nurses.
Are you sure that's your child?
Are you sure? And when she says, the nurse, we've got the article.
Family members saying, "Oh, I prefer the pictures where she looks more African."
How crazy!
She's really light still. Why is she still so light?
This is crazy.
It's like a lack of education.
It's a lack of education. Yeah, it's inbred, innate ignorance.
Yeah.
And until it's removed by education,
Mm-hmm.
like from that lack of education, it just continues and passed on and passed on and passed on. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. There's people coming up to her saying she's really white. Like, I prefer the picture where she looks more African. She's very pale, isn't she? One felt the need to use capitals. She's still white. She's just a mixed race baby. Leave her the fuck alone.
Imagine people, let alone your own family, talking about your child that way.
Can you imagine?
And about their appearance because they're fairer skinned than you want them to be.
And it led this woman, she's talking about her daughter. She's like, am I going to be mistaken for this kid's nanny for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Like, are people going to assume that this isn't my daughter, Yeah, there's more here where she's why is she so white? Did you get with a white man? That's what happens when you get with a white man. Look at her. Why is she so white? These are texts.
That one was this one. It wasn't a text. This was a man that came up to her in the street. A black man
appeared aggressively shouting.
Came up to her in the street and started shouting at her because why have you got a mixed race child?
I was appalled. I was afraid. How awful is this?
Awful.
And there's other stories of this,
And of course, this isn't the case for all mixed race families. This isn't the case for all mixed race kids that they have to experience this. But it is the case for a lot of us. My mum was asked when I was young. Looking like a young English boy. Well, my mum looking like a very obviously South Asian woman. I remember we went to the doctors, and the doctor or one of the maybe it was at the reception, asked Mum, is that your child? Are you just taking care of that child?
Incredible.
And Mum looked at her and, no, that's my son.
What?
That's what do you mean? That's
Where
my son.
Where do you get off?
Where do you get off even asking that question for? Are you thick? Are you thick?
It's like you don't, and this is what we're saying. It's like people are afraid that you exist.
Yeah.
People, and they're afraid that they don't want to. Your existence is just too confusing. It's too confusing. A mix of two people. What do you mean?
And because of that, you're not allowed to exist. There's an erasure of our legitimacy.
So we're gonna assign you a race.
We're gonna give you one, whether you like it or not.
No, you can't have two. No, that's greedy. That's greedy. We're gonna assign you a race. There's no talking about this. And then from then on, you're now white and I'm now Asian. Mm-hmm. And this happened to you the other day.
Right, yeah.
This happened literally. We didn't want this to be anecdotal, but
too anecdotal, yeah.
Too anecdotal. It's pertinent to what we're talking about.
Yeah, specific to that, yeah. I had to go to the
audacity of this story. I'm taking my glasses.
I had to go to the hospital. I managed to hurt my shoulder, so I had to go. I went to the hospital. Went through the process of getting my details down. Not at one point during my time at the hospital, nor have I ever, in my life of 22 years, put my racial identity or my ethnic origin down as white British.
Why? Because why would you?
Well, never would I ever do that because they have one that has my actual ethnic origin there. It's white and Asian mixed. That's the one I press every time, bro. So I've never written white British down on any form in my life. I never would. It wouldn't make sense. That's not you must be looking for Steve over there because that's not me, right?
This isn't Dave. Respect to Dave.
So my information has been put down for me by the nurse that has seen me first of all before they sent me to like a specialist unit.
Just to clarify, she's taking his form. She's
writing down stuff.
She's had a glance at my brother.
She's looked at me
and gone, I feel like this form. Carry on.
She's looked at me. She's asked me, date of birth? Give her my date of birth. Just to check. Yeah, last name spelled like this? Yeah. No race question came up.
That's all the information I need, sir.
Because you know,
I'll guess
because
the rest.
you know, because you know what was a given. You know,
I've got it.
You know what she was so sure of in her mind. That question, I know what the answer is to that.
Yeah, this one's obvious.
Don't worry.
One.
Don't. I revised for this one. I looked at it before I start writing.
I've done the revision, sir.
So I take the form and I don't even look at it. I walked to the specialist unit for my shoulder. I'm waiting to be seen. I thought, let me have a look at the form to see what they've written. I assume it just has details of the stuff that I told her about my shoulder in terms of like range of movement and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
The third line down from full name, date of birth, ethnic origin.
The third question.
The third question.
She got to 2 stops.
That she failed to ask me, ethnic origin.
I've got no time.
White British.
Let me just guess.
White British. And I'm looking at the piece of paper. And the more I'm looking at it, the more that I started off confused. Like I was looking at the piece of paper quizzical, bro. And the less I got confused, the more angry I got. And now I'm like riled up in this waiting room.
Oh, you text me.
And I texted you. I texted mum. I said this is ridiculous.
I'm in there like I'm about to raise a complaint myself.
You went mad over text. Mum was like, "This is not on. They can't do that." You're like, "No, you need to get that changed.
Burn it down."
I'm going crazy. I'm sitting there like, "Yeah, I'm going to need to do something." And then as soon as I saw the specialist that I saw, I said, "Yeah, I've got an issue with my information that has been put down."
What's a slight issue, sir?
I just like to
talking to a woman.
I was like,
sir, at this point, I'm so offended.
I'm so angry.
Excuse me, sir.
And I was like to the person that saw me downstairs has put down my ethnic origin wrong and didn't even ask me what my ethnic origin was, and that's not what my origin is. And she said, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. What is it?" I told her it's white Asian mixed. It's not white British. I'm not white British. And she changed it. She apologized. She was nice enough. This woman, white woman, she had mixed race kids, 2 mixed race sons, and she said, "I completely understand because if that happened to my sons, they'd be going crazy as well."
Of course.
And I said, "Yeah, okay. I'm glad you understand because that's not on. Like I'm actually like angry with that." She was like, "No, I understand." But that literally happened to me 3 weeks ago?
That's 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
That's incredible.
They've looked at me and just mislabeled my ethnicity. I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
Why did I ask for that?
And this is this is it, isn't it? Is that you all have to like as if I'm speaking to the world, as if this is like
No. One more thing. Self-identity is hard enough for mixed race people.
1,000%.
When you're growing up as a mixed race kid, and we can both attest to this because we've both done it. We both done the dance for the first 18 years of our life, and it continues when you turn into an adult because people still fucking question you as much as they want and as much as they can, with no regard for is this a polite thing to do or not. They just feel like they need to know the information they need to know. Self-identity is a very difficult obstacle to weave yourself around, and one that we struggle with. And you know, when you look white passing like I do, or you look Asian passing like James does, it's something that you don't really know what you are because you've been told your whole life that you're something, but you have been told at home that you're something else.
You know it.
And you know deep down that you're something else. But everyone else outside is telling you that you're not that thing. You're this. You're in this box. You're not in the box that you think you are. You're in this box because this one's more comfortable for us to put you in.
Exactly.
And that messes with your head. So when things like that happen, where I'm just going to a routine checkup for my shoulder, and these men are putting my ethnic origin down, bro. Like it's hard enough for me to get into my own head about it without you people outside making it worse. You get me?
Yeah. Again, it's this judgment of skin color, and that it makes you just think that you can pigeonhole people. It doesn't work like that, especially for a mixed race person. Of course. It doesn't work like that. Awful. That's an awful situation. Not only is it unprofessional from that hospital,
and I know that there was no malicious intent behind it.
No, there's no malicious intent.
Because I know what I look like.
yeah, exactly.
At a quick glance...
Yeah, if someone put Asian down for me...
At a quick glance...
I would correct them. But
fair enough.
Like,
yeah, but right, you can ask me the question next time. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's the same with the half-caste thing. You judge it by the malicious... You judge it by
the intent of the person.
The
context is important for this type of stuff, yeah. 100%.
But, awful. Awful situation, and it's just something that's going to continue to happen unless there's some sort of change in thinking. And it's happened. It's happened with me as well. It's funny what you say about the self-identity thing. And growing up, I always said, I was too Asian for the white kids. I was too white for the Asian kids. And all my friends ended up being from the Caribbean. And that's just how it was. And I swear to God, that's how I felt. Like I didn't feel like
you don't belong in any specific group.
Correct. I struggled with that as a kid. I didn't think that I could be. I wasn't really accepted by Asian kids. I didn't think that.
And you know what the difference was for me?
Kids,
I
looked more like them than the white, and I definitely didn't feel that way.
I would always notice, like growing up, that this natural tribalism that's in humans really comes out, especially in like schools and stuff. Of course, it's very cliquey in schools, right? But
of course,
the white guys were showing me love, but in a way that they would show their white brethrens love.
Of course.
But to me, I'm like, I'm not even one of you guys, so I don't even want this love. I love, but I don't even want this love in that way.
And then. Man got love for everyone out here. You know?
I got love for everyone. And then
but don't love me because you think that I'm something that's gonna make you feel good.
Then the Asian boys, they look at me and they might, if I tell them that I am what I am, they might acknowledge it, but they're not gonna accept me into that because we don't look the same. Exactly. We don't have the same skin color. Do you know what I mean?
Correct.
Get into arguments with the Sri Lankans that were in my school because they would be like, "What do you mean you're half Sri Lankan? Are you sure you mean that your mom's half Sri Lankan? You're a quarter? No, I am half. Then why are you so white then? I don't know what to tell you. I'm fair skinned. What do you want? Why do I have to justify my existence every time? I have to justify my existence. That was all what secondary school was about for me, really. just arguing my existence and my legitimacy of actually existing as the person I am to everyone around me who didn't believe me, told me I was a liar, told me that I was making things up. No, that's not your brother. That's not your cousin. That's not your mom's not brown. What? Why? I'm not begging it to be this thing. It's just why I am.
I'm just telling you the truth.
I'm literally just telling you facts. How can I tell someone where I'm from and then tell me that I'm wrong? You know the ignorance for a man to tell me that I'm wrong when I tell you, oh, this is where I'm from. Yeah. No, you're not.
Double down. I respect the fact that you think that you know more than where this man says he comes from.
I really expect that you double down on this.
Double down on it. Double down on it. Triple down on it. No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, we've got other examples of where I've taken you even to see my friends, right? And I had one specific friend who turned around to Josh. Hadn't seen Josh.
This is when I'm 14, 15.
14, 15. He hadn't seen Josh since Josh was like, sort of 6.
I was a young
7 years old, like a child. And turned around to my brother, and the first thing he says to him is, "Oh, you've grown into a proper white lad, haven't you?" And this is my brother who, at this point, is living with his Asian mum. This isn't a situation where
just me and her.
It's literally just you and mum. There's no reason. There's no reason for that to be your initial thought. There's no reason for you to even vocalize that. Why is it even coming into your head? And my reaction was, what the fuck are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
Young white lad. What are you talking about?
Into a young white lad. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, he's as mixed race as me. We've got the same parents. Do you know what I mean? It's just, mixed race people come out in different ways, and in different colors.
The phenotype, it's not always the same as what the genotype might imply, and we're examples of that. Yeah, and we have cousins that are examples of that as well. On the other side, growing up for two of our cousins who are half Jamaican, half Sri Lankan.
Correct.
No one would have thought they were mixed race.
Now, there is another aspect to this. If you are mixed race, then you have to rep mixed race. Because you attribute, you add to this problem that Josh has faced, that I've faced, that loads of other people have faced. It's just a common fucking thing. It's a common thing. You cannot talk to one mixed race person and not have a story like this. We all
have the same stories. We all do.
But if you don't walk around saying, "No, I am mixed race," if someone calls you white, for example, or Asian, and then Asian, black, or whatever, and you say, "No, I'm this one thing," like you're just contributing to this. You have to put it in people's faces. At the end of the day, once upon a time, mixed race people weren't allowed to exist.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And that's why I put it back in people's faces and be like, no, I am mixed race and I'm proud to be mixed race, and there's nothing you're gonna tell me about this. I'm not joining your fucking team. Everyone wants them to join a team or something like that. You get to a certain point. If you're good looking, man want you to join that team. Again, completely anecdotal, but first time I ever experienced someone that was being ultimately racist to Asian people, he found out that I was half white, and his justification for the fact that he'd realised that I was actually a decent guy and etc. was then he turned around and went, nah, James is alright, he's half white. Like I'm on his team now.
He's half white.
Do you know what I mean? He's basically white.
Bro's talking like this race war's about to start. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nah, don't worry. Nah, leave him. Spare him. Don't worry.
Spare him.
You don't have to get him.
He may live. He's half white.
Have you seen his dad?
But that's what I'm saying. But you have to rep it. And I've continuously repped it.
Aggressively,
I've never not
both of us.
Aggressively.
Both of us.
100%.
From both sides.
And we talk about this all the time. At the end of the day, you know, our parents would have faced prejudice for being together.
For sure, difficulties.
You know, our parents would have. I've heard stories. They've told me stories. They've told me stories about this, but more when they were
when they were up in the Midlands. When they lived up there for a bit.
Doesn't necessarily mean that it's more racist in these regions, but you can get racism.
Back then, it would have been definitely a lot less exposure to people of colour.
1,000%.
So that relates to it. Back then,
1,000%.
We're talking about the.
And that's the lack of knowledge through experience.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. 80. Yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s.
Late 80s. And the experiences that they had there. That is where Mum says. Well, Mum says to me anyway. Our mum said that she really experienced like a real aggressive, racist, verbal remarks towards her for the first time.
That was the first time she faced that.
Now, whether that's true or not, because I do think I know she did when she was younger as well, but she didn't acknowledge it as racist until we've spoken about it, and I've gone, no, that was Mum, that person was being racist to you. And she was like, oh yeah, maybe, but I just didn't see it as the time, and that's just how embedded it was into the world.
And
back then.
That's something that ethnics have to face, is the fact that they have to kind of just water off a duck's back with sometimes with comments and that, especially back then. You're talking this is like 70s, 80s. You're talking that even in London, not a nice place to be.
1,000%.
You got 20 years before that, and then you got signs in shops talking about no Irish, blacks, no Irish, no dogs, no Asians. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was racism.
What is it again? Around those times in the 50s and 60s, when our grandparents jumped on them boats and came over to this fucking island, this country. That was around the time where landlords weren't taking on South Asian tenants because they didn't like that the South Asian tenants would make their property smell like curry.
Incredible.
So they wouldn't take them on because their house might smell like curry afterwards. So you can't get housing.
Can you imagine the ignorance?
You come here.
I have never lived in a house that smells like curry.
Not in my life.
Like, are you crazy?
And curry gets
well,
made
like
in
my
my
flat
household,
smells real nice right now because my brother made an amazing chicken curry, an amazing authentic Sri Lankan chicken curry, and it smells fucking incredible. But no, that is an ignorant stereotype that's perpetuated in them times.
Yeah.
That they must just smell.
They just stink.
They must just smell.
They don't wash over there.
You say that? I experienced that in late 2000s, like 2008 something. I saw one kid I went to school with at the time. I can't remember this kid's name. Wrote something on a social media about Sri Lankan smell.
Oh my god!
And I was like,
specifically Sri Lankans as well.
What?
Specifically Sri Lankans. They call
Yo, my people smell good, man.
We smell good.
And I smell real good. Listen.
You ever put coconut oil in your hair?
No, you don't know about. They don't know about the tricks.
You don't know about.
That's why your hair looks shag.
That's why there's no shine to your hair. That's why your hairline's falling backwards.
It's running from your face.
It's running from your eyebrows.
But no. The prejudice that they faced, and my dad would tell, or my mum would tell, more mum would tell stories that dad would be like ready to fight.
Yeah, of course.
He's walking around like, I beg you say something.
I beg you say something to me.
And they had to deal with that. That's awful. Imagine walking around like.
And you
waiting
have to
someone.
be like on it, just to go shops.
Now
someone might say something.
Now every mixed race person that is around our age, their parents all dealt with the same shit. Mm-hmm. This isn't me and Josh being sort of like having our individual, our parent space.
This is rare and unique to us.
Every single mixed race person. So how dare I? How could I even contemplate not repping mixed race and disregarding one of my parents? Or if someone turned around to me and called me one of the races that I am, that I wouldn't then correct them and say, no, actually, no, I'm mixed race. I'm not going to allow you to disregard one of my people, and I'm not going to disregard one of my people as well, because it took a lot for me to get here anyway. You know, I find that disgusting. It adds to that ignorance and to those stereotypes. And then, you have to rep being mixed race.
You have to.
1,000%.
As much as, you know, the people that are of one race rep their race. As much as. Yeah. Even more so. Yeah, you have to. You have to. Because people will try, not everyone, but people will try and strip that away from you if you give them the room to do so. Because it makes their life easier. Make their life harder, man. They'll learn in the process.
Make their life harder.
It's
hard for... but this is another thing, isn't it? Is that people want to be accepted.
Yes.
You know, and if someone turns around to you and calls you something and that's going to allow them to accept you, then you're just going to go along with it, aren't you?
Yes.
Because you're just like, well, yeah, you're half right, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can be on your team. like accept me. And it's awful. And it's the stuff that children face growing up in schools and stuff. When adults do it, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, you should know by now. I'll still see mixed race people do this. They will call themselves by one race. You would never catch me saying that I'm Asian, despite the fact that I look Asian. I've always said that I'm mixed race. Yeah.
Other than in as a passing comment, I'll say I'm Asian, or I'll say I'm British. But that's to say I am that. That's not to say I'm not something else, but that normally if I'm to say that in a conversation,
caveat it.
Yeah. To say that in a conversation, normally it will be with someone that already knows that I'm mixed race. Do you know what I mean?
That's different.
That's different.
If you already know that I'm mixed race and we're talking about something about being Asian, and then James is Asian or something, but they know that I'm mixed race. Yeah. We've already established that. They've already accepted that.
I would never.
I've got
with
no
people
fight back from it. Then okay, we can have that conversation.
With people that don't know where I'm from, I would never say, "Oh, I'm white" or "Oh, I'm Asian," because then it opens. One, it's just incorrect because they don't know any better. They don't know any better about where I'm from, for one, and two, it just opens a whole can of worms. That is just, it's one that I've been less willing to open as I've grown up as well. That is something that I used to have the energy for. I can say that now. I used to have the energy for the argument, and you know that as well, and I grew up, like I said, having to justify who I am, having to defend my position on the offset of the statement I'm mixed race. All of a sudden becomes like an offensive statement to people that I now have to defend it. Like I have to now put on a defense to convince you that I'm actually telling the truth, right? So I had energy for it when I was growing up, and a lot of that energy was from the fact that you're trying to work out who you are when you're a teenager. You're trying to work out your self-identity. You're trying to work out where you belong, who you belong with, all this type of stuff. So you have the energy for it. As I've gotten older, I think around the time I hit 17, 18, someone will ask me where I'm from, or I'm mixed race. If their reaction is anything but positive, I finish the conversation there.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna say, "Oh, that's sick," say swear, like that's banging.
Yeah.
Oh, which one of your parents is from where? Unless it's that, you give me that energy. I've got all the time in the day to tell you anything you want to know. But if it's anything along the lines of, "What? You're so white?" Or "No, you're not," or "Oh, say swear." Alright, it was nice talking to you, and then that's the conversation. Because what do I have time for that?
Do you and as you said earlier, what are you gonna do? Sit around justifying yourself every single fucking day?
Not anymore.
Every single time someone says something, I do the same thing. But I correct people more now. People will just be like, I'm this, and I not say I have more time. I have more time to combat it now. When I was younger, I think that I didn't. I at times. But
whereas it's flipped for me now, I just don't have the energy. It was exhausting because, especially again, looking the way I am, it's believable that you were mixed race growing up because you are darker than me. So you can say, "Oh, I'm mixed race," and then they go, "Oh, it makes sense that you're Asian and English because do you know what I mean?" For me, it doesn't make sense in people's eyes anyway, and especially back then I didn't have a beard, my hair was a little bit different, so I looked a lot.
Well, my name's James.
Yeah, wow.
Well, that's never.
We have
people
biblical
never
names.
believe that.
We have biblical names.
Well,
we have biblical names.
Yeah. I'm Jesus' brother.
That comes from
Just to blaspheme.
and I'm the leader of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Yes,
that's 100%.
Yes.
I
went and scouted the Holy Land. Yes, that was me.
I hooked Jesus up with the prosy. I'm that one. I'm that brother.
Yeah, he was a good influence.
We are actually Catholic. Well, I mean, not anymore, but we grew. That's what we
born and raised.
Born and raised.
Maybe
not currently. Definitely not currently.
And we've been in churches in both England and Sri Lanka and done that whole thing.
Yeah, we done the dance. There was another point I was going to make. I can't remember now.
Just to finish what I was saying. It got to a point where, because of the quantity of how it would happen, of the amount that it would happen, it was constant. Every time I would meet a new person, it was like, I know this is going to turn into like an argument, or like I have to convince you. And I just don't have time for it. It was exhausting. Like mentally, that is draining to constantly have to justify who you are. And so now I just don't do it because I'm like, why am I gonna drain myself for these people? What?
And that's awful. That you've got that both of us, we've got to that point. Obviously, like I said, I'll fight it more now. Now you can't do it because it is draining and it's awful.
Yeah, I just don't care.
But again, we have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to rep it as much as possible, and you have to explain it to people. You've got to put it in people's faces every single time. Every single time, and I do it, man. I will always, like you say, if someone calls me Asian, and then I'll go along with it. Genuinely, I will always caveat it with, I will always say, yeah, mate, I'm half white.
I'm half Asian, half white.
I'm half white. But yeah, I'm Asian. And carry on the conversation.
Right, I'm Asian. So where's this going now?
Where is this going? What would you like to know?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
What do you need to know about some random thing that you've heard that you think just any Asian person's going to know?
Some random South Asian thing that you think that I'm going to know.
I heard about the Taj Mahal, Jake. Okay, well, I'm half Sri Lankan.
That's a good few thousand miles away from where like my family are actually from. And it's a sea, it's a body of water.
Well, obviously, the way I look is just obviously, as soon as I grew the beard, it was, you must be Muslim.
Yeah, you must be.
You must be Muslim. I tell people my name's James, and then it's no, your name's James. No.
Was that your English name?
I remember. Is that just what you tell people?
That's what you tell people, like on your passport.
Is that how you answer the phone in the call center? Yeah, James. But no, even Asian girls, I used to talk to Asian girls, and I'd say my name's James. They'd be like, I didn't think your name would be James. Blah, blah. It's just like, yeah, because you're just stupid, darling. I'll be honest with you. Should I
tell you the truth?
Right, just sit down for a second.
Do you want to know why you thought that?
We're gonna go back 300 years. But no, it's just stupidness, and they'd be like, oh, I thought your name was gonna be like, the obvious one is Mohammed.
Big Mo.
Big Mo. Obviously, just the other day, I had people chanting Mo Salah at me. Fucking incredible.
Liverpool fans.
I'm 6'2". This kid is 5'7".
Yeah, Mo
They're
Salah.
shouting Mo Salah at me. These Liverpudlians, effectively because I've let my hair grow, so now it's curly and I've got a big beard.
Out. Yeah.
So I must be.
You must be.
I must be North African.
You have to be North African.
And fully North African. I'm North African. It's ignorance at the highest level. It doesn't really happen a lot to other people. You don't really like like it's not like every black person you see they go, oh no, he must be like Kenyan.
Yeah.
Like or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no. I'm trying, even like European.
Or maybe people do that, but we just don't.
Maybe they do.
Potentially, people might do that.
Maybe they do. But I don't ever see white people, and I'm like, oh no, like they're all Russian.
Yeah.
Like he's Russian. Russian. Even English people, it's difficult to like differentiate between. And I, as far as I'm concerned, having our dad as our dad allows us to talk about these sorts of things.
Oh yeah, because that's the most English guy in the world. Yeah.
I mean, like literally, like he is fully English, Irish, But yeah, it
Warsaw, born and raised. Like, yeah.
Yeah, people don't get their country's guessed in that manner. People will just throw it out at you like you're an Indian kid, or you're a Middle Eastern kid, or for you it's gonna be.
It's anything.
What's the main one?
The main one for me, Italian. I would say people like
Spanish.
People like to put me in Southern Europe, so I'm Italian or one of the.
Got a bit of a tan.
Or like Iberian, like were you Spanish or what you Greek or it's something they don't know. They can't put it together.
Which is fine. Man can guess that, but then when he corrects you and he tells you that he's half Sri Lankan and half English, and then it's the descent that you then face. That's the problem.
That's where it comes.
That's the problem. It's when you say, no, I'm X, Y, and Z, and man is like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Like, that's unbelievable. No, it is believable.
It was very
because
believable,
he just fucking told you that that's where he comes from, you know? Yeah. I don't know if this is ever going to change. Hopefully this podcast is something that's going to help.
Yeah.
It's something going to help. And the thing is I know people are going to hear these stories.
Yeah.
People are going to hear these experiences that are also mixed race, and they'll be like, yo, that happened to me like yesterday.
Yeah, they'll know what it feels like. The stuff that we've spoken about, they'll know what it feels like. They know what it feels like to be put into a box that you're not part of. You shouldn't be put in.
And when you tell people you shouldn't be in that box,
they fight you on it. They fight you on it.
Yeah. This is fucking incredible.
It's so funny. The arrogance to fight someone on where they're from is like it's the thing is I admire that you're doubling down on this. That you know where I'm from more than I do. I admire it, but it doesn't make you right.
Because I was about to play. I was literally about to just play the
double
clip,
down,
the
double down.
But yeah, no, it is a bit of an arrogance, isn't it?
There's an arrogance to it.
I don't think I've ever said to someone, "Oh, you're from X, Y, and Z," and then they've said, "No, I'm not," and I've said, "Yeah, you are," or they've told me,
"You're lying."
They've told me where they're from, and I've gone, "No,
you're lying. What are you talking about?"
Where
my answer to like whenever I'm to ask someone that question because I haven't worked out already. My answer to that is, "Oh, swear, like okay." What else should it be?
What else can it be?
Because they've told you now. So you've got that information. Do with that what you will, but don't fight them on it. Like, what's wrong with you?
And then when you have that information, don't decide to halve that information to make yourself feel better. Like I named a white country, so I'm just going to tell her he's European.
Oh, he's European.
Even though he's just told me that he's mixed race. That's all that happens. They even with the information, they will still then pick and choose from that information they've been given. I don't understand it. It's an audacity. It's like I don't know. What we said like earlier, it's like a defense mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. If I pigeonhole this person, I can deal with this person better. Why?
Because I'll have information that I feel like I can attribute to them.
Correct.
If I can put them into this thing.
It's the whole
concept of schemas. It's the whole concept. That's like a concept that actually works in our brains. A schema is it's a collection of information that helps interpret and organize new information in our brains.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay,
and so that's what every social situation is. We use our schemas all the time, but some people's schemas are just a bit racist. And they were never checked. They've just been left unchecked. So yeah.
And unless someone teaches them, and unless like we said, unless they face these situations and people are like correcting them every single time, as opposed to folding from peer pressure or folding from societal pressure, it's never going to change. It will never change. It's not something that can change. The funniest one is someone that has mixed race children, but then you teach your child to just be kind of one race.
Be one thing.
Like, what the fuck what do you mean?
Very strange. Strange people.
This is a strange one. And this is one that I've seen as well. And I'm just like, but there was two of you that made this
that came together to make this child.
I'm pretty sure there was two of you. And I'm pretty unless one used the Virgin fucking Mary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you got a big old beard, bro. I don't think you're the Virgin Mary. Like, to me, it's like, you know, it's just, and that becomes a superiority complex. That one. There are so many different factors.
I mean, it's
over the last hour we've gone through so many different factors.
Yeah.
That one becomes a superiority complex, where for some reason you seem to think that your race is better or should be the one that's acknowledged over any others. And that seems very strange to me. That seems like not only are you promoting ignorance, you've then just passed your ignorance down to your child.
Yeah. Instead
and
of
what is your child going to do? Behave ignorantly. And then
that's all they know.
And because that's all they know. And then pass that down to their child. And you allow these cycles to go on and on and on. And that's why people, and then full-blooded people from wherever, they're now getting lied to by mixed race people as well.
Yeah.
how are they ever going to learn? Yeah.
They won't. There has to be a shift. And that's the thing. It's creating that shift. It's creating that change. That's so hard to do because neither of us are that old, and we both lived through the stuff that we lived through.
I'm getting there.
You're getting there. I'm not there yet. When we lived through what we lived through, and mixed race as an ethnic group, as an ethnic category, is the fastest growing in the UK, where we live and have always lived. It's the fastest growing ethnic group in the country.
And what was the statistics? The last statistics that you saw?
In 2011 it was a very small number of people mixed race, but it's known that it's the fastest growing. It's like well known.
I mean, excuse me while I eat Skittles.
What? Sorry. 1.25 million in 2011 were mixed race. So that's 10 years ago.
So that's 10. So you can imagine, though it's difficult to honest. Like, so 677,000 in 2001. 10 years later, it's 1.2. So it's doubling. It's doubling every 10 years. So now it's about 2 million. Call it around 2 million. So when it's 2 million people, there's 68 million people in the UK. 2 million of those people are mixed race. That makes me extremely happy.
Yeah.
A big old smile just come on my face.
A lot of us.
That is that becomes a discernible percentage.
Yeah.
That's something that you can actually...
It's not in decimal points anymore.
Yeah. Now, of those 2 million people, half white, half Asian is probably about a quarter. About 600,000. Because the last
of that 2 million, it would be around 500, 600,000.
500, 600,000
would be our mix. Yeah.
But this is still a growing group of people. This is something that everyone's gonna have to get used to. You're gonna have to get used to it, And if you are a part of that, if you are someone that's either creating a mixed race child or mixed race yourself, recognize that you are not alone. Recognize that you do have an identity, and they hate it. I mean, I've said it before, mixed race people will take over the world at some point. And that is like, you say that to people that are full-blooded with, full-blooded whatever, and that is like scary for them. Like they think they're under attack. It's not under attack. It's two groups of people that have come together and made another person. All right? You don't have to have this thing where it's like this extinction element. It's not an extinction element. That race, whatever's a part of you, is going to be a part of them as well. They will take that culture and go forward.
And they take it with them.
Do you know what I mean? Me and Joshua play football. Probably better than any Sri Lankans in the world. Okay? We do it from an English basis. We play like English football.
We play like English footballers,
Neither of us anymore. But we did at some point, right?
That's how we would play, for sure.
And that's how we would play. We also take the Sri Lankan side of the culture forward as well. And I'm always telling people about Sri Lanka. I'm always trying to educate people on Sri Lanka. I haven't lost... The Sri Lankans haven't lost anything by mixing a white with it.
And the culture that's been passed on to you hasn't been diluted because...
Dilution is one word I'm looking for, It
hasn't been diluted because you're mixed. It's been strengthened because you're able to represent two. Exactly.
It's the strengthening of it that they don't understand. They think it weakens it, it strengthens it. Man will scream for England to win things. And it's like passionate, on a passionate level. I was nearly in tears during the Euros because I wanted England to win so bad. But same way, I pushed the Sri Lankan. I want to go back to Sri Lanka so bad. you know, I want to experience the country. Obviously, we've only been once. It's very expensive to go Sri Lanka. We've only been once.
Went at silly times.
And we went, and we went during a war.
We went during the Civil War.
You know,
the back end of the Civil War.
We had cousins being threatened with AK-47s.
Yeah.
Because they were a bit dark.
Yeah, because they were a bit darker.
You know, but
shoving AK-47s into the van.
This is where you learn that racism isn't solely, you have to go through these experiences, but this is where you realise racism isn't solely like white person versus Asian person or black person.
It's not isolated to one type of people.
You can really get black versus black, Asian versus Asian, white versus white in terms of racism. Yeah. You know? But you definitely have to live through those sorts of situations.
Can't understand it.
And we were very young when we went. But yeah,
very young. Some of us very young. Yeah.
You were very, very young when we.
Yeah.
But it, as you say, it strengthens it. It doesn't take away from it, and that is the problem. Every time I bring it up, they think it's an extinction. Like there's not an extinction. You're not going. And if you go back far enough, and this is something, I mean, we could talk for another hour, 2 hours.
We could do this for 4 hours, yeah, man.
You know, if you go back far enough, the migrations of humans. This has happened numerous times before.
Countless times.
Mixed race people have been around for probably tens and tens of thousands of years. You go back far enough, you're not even talking about mixed race people, you're talking about mixed species of humans. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got just what we were saying, you've got Neanderthal and Denisovan, you've got Homo sapien, Neanderthal. At one point you've got 3, 4, 5 different
types
species
of
hominid
on the
walking
earth,
around, talking and fucking.
Having culture.
I mean,
do you know what I mean? Creating art,
like,
creating communities.
We're already mixed. We're already mixed. I bet you know the sickest thing. It's not funny.
This is the thing, bro. This is the thing, though. This fear of this extinction thing, bro.
It's what drives the defense mechanism. I feel like we've worked out something. It's like that's what that fear of extinction. What's that? Is that movie quote where he's like, whether we like it or not, fear is what drives us. That fear of extinction is what drives that defense mechanism. But what was you gonna say? Sorry.
I was gonna say whether like these people that are, you know, they fear this thing, and going back to your point on, you know, at a point not that long ago, there was 4 or 5 archaic versions of hominid humans roaming the earth, interacting with each other, building each other in terms of culture and enriching each other in terms of, you know, being around each other. Humans today, if you're European and you're fully English, you have in and around 10% Neanderthal genealogy within you. So you're not even 100% Homo sapien, my guy. You're not even 100% Homo sapien.
My guy.
You see them Neanderthals? That's about 9% of you.
They was fucking your great.
If you're Southeast Asian, if you're Polynesian, you're about 12% Denisovan. Do you understand? So we're not even fully human in the sense that most people understand humans to be, let alone one specific fucking ethnic group.
Correct.
You know
and also, they just released some more research with regards to this. This isn't just a European thing. Black people also have Neanderthal.
You know where that's from though?
What?
We're going off to
a
completely different arena.
Well, the research or
so sub-Saharan Africans have Neanderthal DNA through backbreeding with European Homo sapiens who had Neanderthal DNA.
There you go.
From them.
They were the first mixed race people.
Because sub-Saharan African groups weren't able to breed with Neanderthals because they were too far up north versus too far south. But the Homo sapiens that were in Europe bred with Neanderthals, then went back south.
That's right.
Towards Africa, then bred with the Homo sapiens there and gave them Neanderthal genetics through that.
Correct. So yeah.
They were the first mixed race people. They were the first mixed species people.
And race.
Yeah.
That is kind of like the birth of mixed race people actually.
Yeah.
But you know what I was gonna say, it would be incredible if an impossibility to actually make a reality. But if everyone everywhere could do a 23andMe, just a breakdown of your DNA, find out where you come from, you know, go really deep into it, it would destroy a lot of ignorance. it would help a lot of people realize that you actually kind of got mixed. You're gonna have some sort of mix from somewhere.
Yeah, there always has to be. There has to be.
You know, you got the saying everyone has a king and a slave
In their ancestry.
DNA,
yeah.
In their ancestry.
There's at least one king and one slave.
One slave, one king. You've got it in your tree somewhere, and but it's important. No one knows unless you have the knowledge. Unless you do that sort of test, which is it's like 100.
And they're not too great anyway.
And they're not amazingly reliable
because their database is based off the users that they've already
correct. Yeah.
They've already gained.
And also they might give it to the police. You never.
Yeah, you never know. And then all of a sudden, you're being convicted of a murder.
I was going to say, and sometimes they use it to convict family members.
Yeah.
You can have like distant family members.
Yeah, when that started to come out, yeah.
And they will find you. Not saying we're sitting here as criminals, but it is just a bit of a booky thing.
It's an interesting system in place that a lot of people use.
And I can imagine it has destroyed a lot of ignorance. I can definitely imagine that a
destroyed a lot of families.
Like the 23andMe test was followed by a paternity test.
Yeah, straight away. That was the two things on the bank statement.
Like a couple days of no transactions.
Yeah, no transactions.
Then a paternity test. But no, I'm sure not just destroyed families, but I'm also sure that that yeah, like some people have got those tests and gone, oh, I'm 20% African. What the fuck?
What?
I better stop being racist to Africans then, because I'm 20% African.
Because I guess, you know, a good chunk of me is that.
You know, it'd be funny if 23andMe just started telling people that it was look, you're 20% here, mate. You're 20% there. Look, you're all around.
You're
the
everywhere.
world. Can you imagine? It would be a good ploy. I don't want to feed any sort of
Illegal.
conspiracy.
And it would be a serious con, and they would get sued.
Unless there's
but it would be good for humanity.
It would be great for humanity. Might be something in the terms and conditions where it's like, listen, we might make it up if we can't actually establish this.
But
no, that's I can almost guarantee that'd be like a conspiracy theory that they would think of. Someone would think of somewhere.
Yeah.
Like now, 23andMe is making it all up, bro. They're trying to tell us
they're pushing a liberal agenda.
But we're not. Yeah, the liberal agenda of mixed people. It's this extinction of my race. You know, I have reported something like, I don't know, man. 20, 30 accounts on
Twitter.
On Twitter.
I'm in a similar ballpark.
Okay, perfect.
Similar ballpark.
And I've started getting reports back from them.
Yeah.
Where they're telling me, oh, you know, this person's been banned, this person's been banned, and one of them was the username was something like, "It's the extinction of the white race." And I was just like, what are you talking about?
Where do you think? Where?
Where is this superiority complex you have? Where is it? Oh, I just want to go in on people, but where does it come from? Where you think that
fear?
It's fear.
It's fear.
Like we said, it was fear. But you think that you're even a thing to go extinct.
Yeah.
And you don't know enough about history.
And we're not just all humans.
We're not just all the same.
We're not just all the exact same animal.
And you actually are just talking about people that have the tan that you try and obtain.
Oh yeah, that's a whole different thing about racial ambiguity being en vogue in what people want to look like. But and so being mixed race is fashionable. You get a lot of white people, white girls that will tan themselves and get lip injections and all this stuff to look like they're a bit black or they look a bit Asian or whatever. And then you'll get, and this is a whole different issue because this has to do with colonial history of racial prejudice. But in Asia,
beauty standards and things like
beauty standards and it being Eurocentric in those countries.
Correct, yeah.
And therefore, you know, you can go into like the proper Asian shops in this country. You can go into those shops where they get stuff imported for the people that literally only shop there because that's, you know, they're from that country. And you'll get face whitening products. You'll get skin whitening products on the shelves in England. And it's because that they've carried that culture over.
Yeah, I mean, this is very prevalent in Asia and the Caribbean.
Super prevalent.
Like, it is the main thing.
They want to white out their face.
I mean,
to look racially ambiguous.
One of the things, I mean, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, though I don't think that I am. One of the things that happens during an Indian wedding is they rub like ghee, a type of ghee or something, on the groom to whiten his skin before the wedding. Are we gonna Google this? Pull it up, Josh. They're gonna whiten this person's skin before the wedding. And I went to one of these things, and I was watching it with my mouth dropped to the floor. I was like, are you for real? Are you sure that that's what you want to do? And you see it?
This might be a Hindu thing. Was it a Hindu wedding that you saw? That you were at? You don't know. It was just a.
All it was drinking for 7 days. Does it say they drink for 7 days? Because that's what happened.
That's what happened.
I don't remember much.
No, I have to have
I remember this because when I turned up, I was like, "Why are they putting butter on his face?
Why are they putting that smelly butter on his face?"
Oh, to make him light skinned. Oh, okay. Okay. Can I have my brandy and coke, please?
I can't see anything specific to. Wait, let me Google something a little bit more.
I'll jump on the Googles, but anyway, and this goes. I mean, me and Josh. We are half Sri Lankan, we are half Burgher. But we read a statistic earlier where it was like 50 or over 50% of the advertisers in Sri Lanka use burgers to advertise things.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, perfect. This is it. I just got the thing wrong.
Was it turmeric?
I don't know what it was. I mean, I was just drinking. I'll be honest with you. They told me...
You said something very unsubstantiated.
They told me...
And potentially racist.
It was right.
You were correct.
I was correct. I thought I was correct.
The
problem
confirm
is they've told me about it, and I've just turned around and said, right, okay, can I have my drink now, please?
Can I have my drink?
I don't want to listen to this no more. I'm here because I was invited, and I'm being a good friend. I don't agree with what's happening. But I can't. But you can't say nothing. But as I was saying, they use the burgers as the advertising face of a lot of things in Sri Lanka.
50% of them.
Minimum.
50% of advertising campaigns. Was it 50% of advertising campaigns?
50% of advertising campaigns
use burger models in their thing. And then you consider that burgers represent like something like 0.7 of the population.
I was literally about to say Google that because it is literally. Can you imagine?
It's an insane amount of over-representation. Where did you? Go on, because you were the one that found that. I didn't see that.
No. I don't. I know that's a fact.
What did you want me to look up?
I wanted to look up how many burgers in Sri Lanka.
Oh, you wanted to check your battery
percentage. Yeah, I'll fix that now.
It has to be like 0.7%.
Jesus, in 1981 it was 0.2%.
It's below 1%. It's like 50,000 people.
In the world, me and Josh make up we're half.
This is the thing. We don't make up. We're rarity inside of a rarity because
we're a rarity.
That's why the joke that like was always made is that we're shiny Pokemon. There's about one of us for every billion regular ones.
And this is not an egotistical thing. This is literally
like
there's literally 50,000. It's like an endangered. If there was the same amount of animals,
you would get NSPCA running ads.
That's an endangered species. Like, do you sponsor these burger people?
Sponsor a burger.
They're only getting money off the advertising campaigns. Sponsor them.
You'll get greeting cards.
But yeah, no, it is literally. I mean, it is Jesus Christ. What an over representation. I didn't find today's percentage, but we're gonna know that it's something to do with. It's something like
I was gonna say probably related to about half of the burgers left in the country.
You know what I mean? Like, Uncle, I need some money, cuz.
Uncle, please. I know you got that modelling contract.
Hook me up with the L'Oreal advert. My hair's ready. But it is over-representation, and it is because of colonial.
It's colonial hangover.
It's the hangover from colonialism.
It's this new age of Western influence and racial ambiguity being desirable for two, and when you put those two things together,
light skin.
Yeah, when you put those two things together in a country that has a very awful colonial history, like Sri Lanka.
You lot just kept running up in this island.
Yeah.
You lot just couldn't leave it alone.
3 different colonial powers.
what the fuck? Obviously, because it's such a strategic.
It's such a good port to have
trade.
Yeah. The trade between
Southeast
Africa
Asia,
and
Africa.
Yeah.
And then India.
And India.
You've literally, you're hitting everyone from this little island.
Yeah.
And
it's been
they couldn't do nothing about it.
Yeah, and it was known as that for centuries as well.
Yeah.
As well. Do you know what I mean?
And there's jewels on the island.
Oh my god.
Do you know what I mean? If you need some jewels and you need to make some and you need to do.
And there's ivory on the island.
There's ivory. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's awful. It's awful.
There's leopard skins on the island. There's all kinds of things for you to take back home.
I mean, our granddad thought he was eating panthers out there.
Nah, cheaters. That's what he said.
Cheaters.
It's cheaters.
No,
Bust me joke every time, but
our granddad
that's a whole different
thing. Live
next to the jungle. Next to the jungle.
I mean, his back garden is the jungle.
He would watch leopards hunt like red deer.
Yeah.
And pull them up into trees.
Down,
and 2 generations down, and we're
going
and we're here, and we're all here,
kind of crap,
and we're here, and living good.
It's very it's quite incredible that happened. But no, it is the beauty standards that are upon. That is a huge overrepresentation, and despite the fact that we are part of that, and part of those people, that is not something that we agree with in the slightest. That is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'd love an advertising campaign. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
Anyone's out there,
but
you'll find our contacts.
You can't. but you can't. But you can't, and that's all jokes.
It's all jokes.
Because it can't be like that. You know what I mean? And it's not like that.